generation defined as bravery, integrity, humility, and dignity. My mother, Wilma, was the epitome of that generation and those characteristics. In a word, she had class. As I comment on her life, I hope you'll forgive me for kind of interjecting my father in this also, because they so much loved each other. They were almost one, so it's hard to talk about one without the other. But as Ann said, Mom would have been 99 in August. She almost made it. Now, when someone lives to be 99 years old, you got a lot of material for stories. I'm not going to drag it out, but there are two periods that I want to focus upon. The first is from approximately 1945 to 1960. That's when my sister Lynn and I were growing up. We lived in Lansing, Michigan, in a white house, two-story house on the corner, across from this wonderful park. Possibly because its location, but more likely because of the fact that my parents made our friends feel so welcome. That became the local gathering spot. There was always somebody in that house for that yard. In the summer, there was hardly a night that there wasn't a kick the can, gray wolf, eeny over game going on, at least until the streetlights came on. Then everybody departed. In spite of the noise, the trampled roses, the crushed lawn, my parents never complained. They were just delighted to have so many young people around. In the winter, the city flooded the park across the street and turned it into a giant ice rink. And in order for everybody to save 15 cents at the at the concession stand, many of the kids came to our house to change their skates. Mom would be there lacing up skates. Kids would be gone for an hour and a half, and back frozen. They stood in front of the oven thawing out. Mom loved it. We were fortunate enough in the early 50s to have one of the first television sets in the neighborhood. There were many nights when there would be kids lying wall to wall in the living room floor watching television. Thank God there was only one channel and it was only on for 2 hours. They would have been there forever. All during that period, I naively believed that I was the main attraction, and all these kids came to see me. But it soon became apparent that I was not the attraction. There were many times I would come home late from school or from practice, and one of my friends would be there, one or more of my friends would be there chatting with either mom or dad or both. They felt comfortable in that house, and they felt welcome. I had one particular friend that Dean and I had known for many, many years, who during that period was growing up in a very difficult home situation. As a result, he spent many nights at our home. And to this day, and he's told me over and over again, that Mom and Dad literally saved his life. Today he's a successful businessman, a great father, and a wonderful grandfather. But as recently as just last week, Jim told me how much my parents meant to the fact that they put him on the right track. That's the kind of people they were, the kind of woman she was. All the time this was going on, my parents and Mom in particular never missed a ball game. recital. We didn't have Little League in those days. Kids played in t-shirts in the afternoon, and the mothers usually showed up to keep score. It wasn't like today's Little League games under the lights. My folks also would travel to Jackson, Michigan, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek to watch their son, usually sitting on the beach, play basketball. But in all that time, they never, or very rarely, missed a game. One thing you probably don't know about Mom is that she was an accomplished seamstress. She made many of my sister's clothes, many of Kim, her granddaughter's clothes. She actually made a couple tailored suits that Brooks Brothers would kill for. Later in life, however, she determined it was just a lot easier to go to Pendleton shop. On one occasion, later in life, when she was living in the cottage at Robin Run, my wife Judy just happened to be going by to check on her, and Mom was nearly in cardiac arrest. Judy rushed her to the cardiac center up on North Meridian, and where she was met by her mother. And after they stabilized Mom, and she was laying on the gurney, she pulled away the oxygen mask and said, "Say, Judy, where did your mother get that wonderful suit she had?" She loved clothes, and she would never leave the house not totally made up or dressed to the nines. My most memorable image was her in Lansing, out in the backyard, hanging laundry on the clothesline, dressed in a white blouse, a skirt, pearls, and pumps. When they fashioned June Cleaver, they modeled her after Wilma. The second period I want to visit is this past year, where we were privileged to have Mom living with us in Georgia. Judy and I had been after her for quite some time to come down and live with us, but she kept refusing because she thought she would be a burden. Finally, last June, she became so ill that we made an ultimatum, but she countered with her caveats. First, you have Top Fox News. Yes. Is there a Pendleton store in the vicinity? Yes. We didn't have the Big Ten Network, but we soon did. In addition to her clothes, she loved her sports and her politics. And we spent many, many nights watching her beloved Boilermakers and discussing politics and world events. She even took up sewing again, sewing on Girl Scout badges for the 11-year-old girl across the street. This is the same little girl who wanted to take her to show and tell because she had so much history. And only 3 nights before she passed away, she and little Katie were having a contest to see who could name the most city capitals, state capitals. She enjoyed the theater and movies. Her favorites were The Help and The Hunger Games. She loved many television programs. We got her involved in Dancing with the Stars. We had a little trouble with Revenge because they kept introducing new characters. And many times she would call me on her cell phone to come to her room and say, "Would you explain this to me?" Many times I could. She spent a great deal of time on our back deck outside watching the birds. She loved the birds. She would sit out there and read books. She was reading on an average a book a week. She wouldn't, however, never leave her room not completely dressed to the nines, makeup, jewelry, and all. never really, as much as we enjoyed having her in Georgia, she never really left Indianapolis, however. She missed all her friends here, and many of you are here today. As a result, we subscribed to the Indianapolis Star for her so she could keep up on local events, and particularly the Pacers and the Colts. Because of the snail mail, many times the paper would not show up for 4 or 5 days. And at times, we would get 3 or 4 newspapers on the same day. In spite of that, she would read every word in every paper. I think one of her regrets at this time, she looks down at us, is that she won't make it to, that she did not make it to the 2012 election. I was always amazed or surprised that when she came by with her walker, that she didn't already have a Romney sticker plastered on it, but she hadn't gotten that far yet. She was a delight to be with, and Judy and I are truly blessed to have her with her, had her with us. She was a very special person, and I'm incredibly proud to have been her son. Thanks, Mom.